Okay, let's get right into it here. We've got a lot to talk about today. I just got back from my trip to Germany, ran a road marathon, did a little bit of road and trail running after that. Legs were feeling a little bit beat up, so not as much as I typically do over there, but I did get to do some very interesting insole testing. Had a custom insole fitting. Check out my review and video on that process. So I thought it would be a good idea today to talk about kind of the insole setup, also in relation to the actual shoes that I brought along with me on this trip. You'll see on the table I brought 4 shoes with me on this trip. I have the Keen Seek right here. I have the Mount to Coast H1 Hoka Rocket X3. I wore this for the marathon, of course. And my Norda 005, which I did not run on in the trip. We'll get to that in a sec. Got my cheat sheet here. There's a lot to talk about, as I said, aside from my shoes for the trip. Going to talk about the insoles a little bit in depth as it relates to the sizing of these particular shoes. I got these insoles fitted for my Mount to Coast H1, so there's a little variation in the sizing. Some sizing issues that confirm kind of what I thought about how these shoes fit and feel on foot, so I'm going to go through that a little bit. Got some gear in for tests, as you can see. Rabbit, I've got Fractel here. I've got my Fractel hats here. A couple of things on the way. Let's dig in right away. Talk about the vacation shoes. Keen Seek here, all around versatility. I did a quick run from the house post-marathon up to Maria Eck, a little church not too far away. A lot of gravelly roads out there. They're kind of like, they're not as bad as the forest roads here in the US. They're pretty smooth, pretty well graded out, but they are kind of loose at times, so this shoe is pretty versatile on that. It's handling that kind of loose small gravel. Also, I was running through town just a little bit to get there. They're okay on the road. It's a little bit of a slightly heavy shoe for road running and a bit slightly lugged out for that type of hard surface running. Definitely check out my quick run in these. I will mention that these insoles I've talked about, these are custom insoles from GOREWEAR Michael Weiß. Check out my process review on that. These are highly interesting. The whole process was incredible. All the details are in there, so I won't really rehash it here, but these are the insoles that I got custom designed for my feet. As you can see, there's a different setup here. I have a kind of bolstering under the middle of my right foot, and then I have kind of inner heel bolsters and a little bit on the outer edge here on my left foot. So these are completely customized, not just to my feet, but to my body alignment, optimizing. Essentially what he was testing was how far I could rotate both to the left and the right, aligning my hips through these kind of wedges under the insole. Again, go back and check out my video. Right now, I do want to talk about sizing. So I had these sized to my Mount to Coast H1. I had in my mind that I might try to get some insoles done. My wife was going in there. I thought maybe I would get some done as well if they look pretty cool, which they did, of course. I wore my H1s because I figured that was pretty regular standard sizing in my US 10. I talked about sizing in my H1 review video. I had a 9.5 and it feels a little snug up front, but the 10 feels just about perfect for my foot. I've heard some people mention sizing down in the shoe. It is a volume type of upper, especially around the middle of the foot and the ball of the foot. Again, there is that taper here. I still can't imagine sizing down in this shoe. I just don't see it at all. Even at true to size, what I consider my true to size, US 9.5, it feels okay-ish, but definitely super comfortable in the 10. This is your standard Ortho Light insole here. This insole, of course, he took my foot tracings, my foot setup, how he had kind of organized the paddings in each of the insoles, and then he also took the insole shape. So this is pretty much an exact match for my H1 insole. As you can see, these are a little bit different because your typical insoles kind of have like a bathtub design that wraps around especially the heel area and to varying degrees around the arch area. These insoles that I had made are pretty much fit to like the bottom profile of your running shoe, so you don't have that edging wrapping around the side of your foot. I have some questions as to whether it's going to be more stable or less stable than that traditional setup, which kind of seats your foot inside. But I think the idea is with these type of kind of alignment or orientation fixes here, I should say, or adjustments within the insole, I think the idea is that your foot is more stable to begin with, it's kind of putting your alignment and your posture in a neutral position from the top down versus having the insole maybe have to wrap around your foot and prevent you in that way. So working on it in different angles there. So pop this one in here real quick. Again, it's just a perfect fit in this one. US on the trip, I was running quite a bit. I would say I probably did the most running in this Keen Seek. By the way, this was my travel shoe of choice for the entire trip. I wore this on the way out there. We went Boise to LA to Copenhagen to Munich. On the way back, we went to, Munich, Copenhagen, Seattle, Boise. A lot of traveling, long days in the airport. The wide toe box, just great for casual use and travel, long flights like that. So I had the Keen Seek and also my sock pairing here, Injinji merino wool liners, perfect fit. They don't feel sweaty at all. The merino wool is temperature and sweat regulating in there, and the liners are pretty thin, so foot's gonna swell up a little bit on travel, on the airplane, stuff like that. With the kind of thinner liner sock here and the wide toe box, and this is again a US 9.5 in the Keen Seek. Talked about this in my other videos. With that wide fit at a US 9.5, I consider that my true to size, and I consider it perfect sizing in this shoe. I would not go up to an ultra size 10 in this one. Again, this was my travel setup. I typically would run with a little bit of a thicker sock in here, but getting back to the insoles, on the trip I wanted to see how they would kind of work out in here, and they do fit perfectly in here, so that tells me one thing. My sizing kind of thoughts are in line here because I thought the US 9.5 was a little short in here, a little cramped here, and I feel like this is a perfect true to size. So you have a 10 here and a 9.5 here, and the insoles fit perfectly in both of these shoes. So this sizing is roughly going to be the same. Of course, this is a little bit wider here. I have the actual Keen insole here. Again, Ortholite insole. This is I think 100% bio-based. Again, there's differences in width in this insole here. You could probably see definitely different than the Mount to Coast one. You also have that kind of wider bathtub design here wrapping around the foot, a little bit contouring around the arch. This kind of difference in the front I don't really feel when this insole is in the Keen Seek, not at all. It's the length that is pretty much an exact fit in the Seek here. So sizing in these two are okay. I brought the Norda 005 along the trip. I had the intention of doing, this is still on the way by the way, I think over the next day or so I'm going to do this A/B test. Mount to Coast H1 versus Norda 005. Don't want to go too in-depth here or talk about too much details, but these are pretty similar, especially the weights as I hold them in my hand. The price is not very similar, mind you. Of course, differences between these shoes, but they are in the same realm, surprisingly, with this shoe being at least half the price of this one. So we'll see how they perform out on the trails and perhaps a few different surfaces. But this is also a 10, so 9.5, 10, 10 here. But I brought the 10 on my shoe with the intention of doing the A/B test. My legs were a little banged up from the marathon, so I didn't really get into that type of running. I didn't want to do a test where my legs were not feeling to do that. Same sizing here, but here's our Norda standard insole here. When I tried to fit these insoles in here, these are my customs again, Mount to Coast US 10, they don't quite fit. Lengthwise, they're definitely a squeeze in there and really don't really fit. They would kind of be bent up, especially at the heel or at the front of the toe box, however I kind of shoved my foot in there on top of this insole. This, of course, insole is very thin. The Norda insole is very thin here anyway. Sometimes with this insole, especially compared to these Ortholite ones, I do find that I'm getting extra volume with an insole like this. Compared to the Norda one, it would be pretty similar, but I always felt that Norda shoes run short, and this is pretty much confirmation of that. These are both 10s, and I can't fit this insole in there, and it's fitted to the base of the shoe. I think that pretty much confirms. I do have this shoe in a US 10.5, and that was the shoe I was testing with the Superfeet carbon fiber insoles here. Check out that video, super cool. Major difference here between these insoles, of course, beaded TPU here, it's much thicker. You have the carbon fiber plate, of course, but the insole itself, aside from the plate, the beads, the filler material there, which is the neon green in between these TPU beads, it's just a thicker insole. So this fills up volume, while this would tend to reduce volume if I was using it in different shoes. So something to be aware of, the thickness of an insole, also the width, the contour when you're swapping out a lot of insoles. I've heard a lot of comments, so I think people are doing similar things to me. At least some of you are, which is interesting. I'm not the only crazy person doing this. So this will certainly fit in my Norda 005 size US 10.5, but again, that will probably reduce or keep the same volume, and that's a high volume shoe, so I'm not certain that I would run this insole. It's just a bit of an unfortunate situation with the Nordas running slightly short for their sizing relative to other models. Let's move on. Quick check on my marathon shoe here. This is the Rocket X3. I did do a little insole swap here. I have the Merrell Long Sky 2 Matrix insole here. This is a sheet TPU, so this is different from the beaded TPU. It's not those beads embedded with a filler material. I guess they kind of expand the sheet. I find this a very nice and lightweight insole, and I kind of put it also in other shoes. It has a slightly different contour around the arch here, which I kind of like. Thickness is not too off. This is the standard Rocket X3 insole here that came with it. The sizing is pretty much the same. I don't know why. I was just kind of experimenting a little, but you can kind of see the difference around this area, just a little bit more prominent in this shoe than the Rocket X3. So that gave me the idea. I talked about my right foot being a little bit wonky my right foot being wonky in general, but my right foot in the Rocket X3 just felt like it was collapsing in a little bit more, so I thought maybe this little kind of contouring more in the middle front of the arch would help me, and it kind of just felt better on some of my test runs. So there's no particular difference in thickness. Again, it's just a slight difference in the arch area, and it seemed to work well on my test run, so I just went with that for the race, and I had no issues at all. It was actually probably the most comfortable feeling I felt in a marathon shoe ever. I've been running in the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent, bunch of marathons in a row now, and it just has a weird shape. I talked about this. So this shoe is just super comfortable. I do the lace locking, but super dialed in this shoe without like feeling weird on my foot. It just feels normal on my foot, which is great. And again, that little help from the different shape of the insole. So something to think about when you're dealing with insole swapping or just playing around a little bit. Some of them have different shaping around the middle of the foot. It's not just all about the material itself. It could be that different contouring. Some are like thicker in different areas. Insoles that may look the same, it might be worth a shot just to kind of play around. I think this is a great insole. If you happen to have a Merrell Long Sky 2, or I don't know if they use this in other Merrell models, this is a great insole. It's a good one to have around. But if you have insoles or shoes that you just think fit well or work well with your foot, and other shoes kind of give you little niggles here and there, it might be worth it to just say, it could be the insole. Take the insole out of a shoe that feels good, put it in another shoe. It could be just that slight difference that, makes all the difference in the world. I did want to talk about the sizing here. US 10 here. I go with a US 10 in Hoka for both road and trail. I find this one a little snugger, of course, than the trail models. It's a road shoe, so that's no problem. I've got 3/4, probably less than 3/4 of a thumb's width in front. But again, you're running on a road, hopefully racing a marathon or some kind of road race in this shoe. You're hopefully running straight ahead and not being too off kilter in this shoe. So half thumb's width at least in any shoe across the board. Up to 3/4 is fine for a road shoe. My Hoka 10s, I usually have a full thumb, so Hoka does, I guess, adjust for road and trail here. Again, with the 10 here, I could kind of get it in there. It's actually, but I feel it kind of pushing around the edges. So that gives me the sense that the sizing is just a tad snugger for the Hoka road shoe. I don't think I would run this type of insole in a marathon racing. I don't know if it would mess with the feel of the plate or anything like that. I may give it a shot actually, but it's just a little bit too long for this Hoka Road 10. My Hoka Trail 10s, and I definitely especially want to try this in the Tecton X2 because that shoe just feels a little flat to me. Sometimes it could give me a little tension around my Achilles and lower leg, so I want to see if the insoles would make a difference in that. And these do fit nicely in my Tecton X2, so that's the same size US 10. Again, the road being a little bit snugger. So I did learn some new lacing tricks from my friend Michael Weiß over there at Schuhwerk in Traunstein, Germany. He did something very interesting, which I did discuss in my video there, but I wanted to give a better close-up. Typically in the Mountain Coast H1 and other Mountain Coast shoes, R1 also, this lacing here starts going across here. It doesn't extend and overlap with this lower lacing zone here. And I talked about finding that a little bit curious because you don't, this cross is eliminated in how they come out of the box. So you have a lace bar across here, the first kind of row, and then you have this sealed up here, but then there's nothing here, and that's kind of right in the middle of your foot. It's kind of what I would say is a critical area. He took a look at the shoes, and as I talked about in my video, from the edges of the ball of your foot, you do not want this squeezed. That is kind of my thing and what he was kind of emphasizing to me, and I've always felt this way. I do not like this being squeezed. So he actually moved this down. He just started doing this. I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, you want to have this super tight, and you could even cut these blue laces off. I have found this works very well. I can really tighten this. I like to have my shoes super tight as I can stand. You don't want to have this part being overly squeezed, but you want to have the ability to keep this nice and loose. So here I kind of like it. I think for running on trails, I do want to have this snug, but I would keep it, of course, not as tight as this, but maybe not completely cut them off, as he says. And this feels just perfect to me. I love this setup. A second trick he taught me, and this was when my wife was lacing up her Norda 002s. He showed this to her, and I tried it on my Keen Seeks. I talked about in the Maria Eck video having not as much stability in this shoe as other trail shoes. I don't feel completely locked in, and part of that was I again don't want to squeeze this part of the foot, so I felt like I couldn't really tighten the shoe down as much as I would like to for kind of technical terrain without squeezing this too much. He taught me a little trick here. I don't want to unlace this all the way, but actually maybe I will. So you lace the bottom row and then you tie a knot here before continuing to the higher and middle laces here, and this is kind of loose. So you set this up how loose you want it. Essentially it could be with zero tension at all. Then you tie a knot right here before you lace further on. I also found, and this is something he has in his book, and he has a flyer too, you can wrap this around here, and that I find helps lock it. So when I did this initially, I was pulling it, I would pull this tight, but then you see how that kind of yanks this up a little bit? That was kind of giving me an issue. So he had another trick where you lace it over and then you lace and loop one more time around that same eyelet, and that kind of locks it in place without moving. See how this knot is not getting yanked up if I didn't do this loop over here? So here you go. Now this is not gonna kind of tighten as much as I tension these. What did I do? I tangled myself up here. Oh, I got an over and under. No, there we go. So I can really tighten this super tight. Like, I like this tight. This feels good. Obviously, to a certain degree, it's going to depend. You don't want to give yourself lace bite. Depends on the tongue of the shoe. Luckily, the Keen Seek is nicely packed. I overdid it right now. This is too tight. But you get what I'm saying here. Look at this lower lacing. Super loose, and yet this part from above the ball of the foot above is super dialed. So this is just an amazing lacing technique. I think if you want to have that feel, because normally if I pull this tight, it's also gonna, of course, the lace rows are all connected. With standard lacing, this would cinch up tight and that would make it uncomfortable. So then I'd have to loosen this in order to get comfort here and not have as good a lockdown in the middle of the foot and around the ankle as I like. So here I've got the best of both worlds, and this is an awesome technique. Let me give you a close-up there. Take a screenshot, whatever you want to do. Could be a Goldilocks lacing technique. I'm probably going to use this on a lot of my shoes going forward, so you'll see it in my video. Again, I kind of did this one a little bit too tight. You can really vary it and keep those kind of cross tension going that you didn't have with the H1 when they had them separated. Again, here I've got it overlapping the blue and the white laces from the top, so I'm getting coverage throughout the middle of the foot. You really want to not lose any rows or crosses or tension around the middle of the foot. You really want to have that dialed in. So go ahead and try that lacing trick on one of your shoes, perhaps one where you feel like you don't quite have that snug midfoot, or maybe you're getting squeezed in the forefoot. Try that hack. Let me know what you think. I really think you're going to have good results if you're kind of in that situation with wanting to have the tension how I like it, at least in my trail running shoes. Okay, let's transition to my marathon kit, marathon tech here, just for a quick moment. Go through my gear list here. Let's start with top to bottom. How about that? This is my Fractel racing cap here. Got a bunch of caps from Fractel here. Let me switch this one. This one just happens to, I like the color and I like the material. It seems to be more volume in this one than some of their other caps, so you can see me trying to fit my hair in here. Also got a new model from Fractel. I was told that these typical standard models that they have, this is a EVA, sheet EVA that they use in their brims. That's what makes them so kind of comfortable and not rigid. Here's one where they have, I think, a more cardboard type of rigid brim here. So if you're actually not a fan of these, which I am, I think they're super comfortable. They've got another model here, and this one has your more kind of traditional rounded shaped running cap brim here. This one, again, this one feels, I think it has something to do with the brim and just the more traditional running style. You can see this one's a little bit like tighter on my head. There's less volume in this, so it's not really working out for me so much. They have a couple of other models here. Got this one in chalk. This one fits me well. I think there's differences in the material that allow different amounts of stretch. Like this one has like a softer material and this one is not as stretchy. From Mammoth Trail Fest, I got a different color for each event that I've done. These are essentially, I think, the same as this one, but again, for whatever reason, they're just a little less stretchy. Then, see, the material is slightly different. So this one here, I believe this is called the windswept cap. If you have a high volume dome or at least a lot of hair, this, maybe take a look at this one, because this material just seems to be stretchier than some of their other ones. This one's kind of in the middle. This one's less stretchy, but it has good volume, and this one fits kind of tight. So if you got a small head, I would say go from this one to say this one. This is, I think it's called chalk, and this is one of their kind of standard ones here. Starting from the head down, you got the cap here. Gear, Garmin Enduro 2. I've got this. This is my watch I use for everything. Trail running. It's a little bit heavy. You don't need a watch like this for a marathon race, but got my Coros armband. Heart rate marathon. By the way, my heart rate average for the marathon, 2 hours, 34 minutes, 23 seconds, 175. That's pretty much in line with what I've run for the past, I don't know, 7-8 years. I don't seem to see any decline yet in my kind of upper end heart rate. Maybe at the very high VO2 max, I'm not sure, but at marathon pace, it's been pretty steady. I've run marathons actually around 178, maybe even 180, I believe, a couple times when it was very hot. Had great conditions, overcast, in the 50s, cloudy, no rain, calm wind, so there were parts where it kind of dipped when there were slight declines. So 175, I would say it might be on the lower end of my marathon range. I'm typically 175, 176, 177. So anyway, had my Stryd pod on, of course. I got 26.21 miles exact on the distance for the marathon. Stryd pod. This is running through Munich. A lot of this was downtown Munich. They don't have crazy high building. It's not like New York City or anything like that over there, but still, I was running through some narrow kind of corridors and stuff between medium-sized buildings, and 100% accuracy on distance with that one. I want to talk about Stryd pods in general. Stryd pod 5.0 is coming out. I have them on the way. I think they're shipping sometime in November. They're available for pre-order now. 15% lighter. Apparently the metrics are improved, especially for climbing and descending. That's something I talked about in my other videos. I find that in very steep climbing, it doesn't respond as quick, and I feel like when I have the Duo set up, so I have a second one of these. I find when I'm like power hiking and it's slower and very steep, I get better readings when I wear both of the pods versus just wearing a single pod on the run. So maybe with the newer models, they'll get more response, and I won't have that kind of variation in kind of drops in wattage when I'm wearing just one pod on steeper sections. We'll see. 15% smaller size, that's a big improvement because I have a bunch of, you can see the laces here. Getting this fitted on here with these two laces is a little tricky, especially with this tab. Also, when I'm doing lacing like this, could be tricky. I have those Kalos shoes that also have one of these tabs in line. So there's obviously different shoes. I think they talk about track shoes and stuff like that, where it's harder to fit this kind of size on. So 15% smaller will probably help with that. Marathon power, what did I have? So I did 2 test runs before, and I want to talk about why Stryd pod is very helpful. I did a quick little treadmill progression run 8 days before the race when I kind of knew I was going to sign up just to kind of start running fast again. This is 2 weeks after Mammoth Trail Fest. I'm like, oh man, I got to start running a little bit faster. Did a treadmill progression run. The next run, I did kind of my essentially main workout. I did 6 times 5 minutes, and I was really trying to feel out my marathon pace. So I figured, well, I have to run about 6:03 to get my PR, which was perhaps optimistic, but I don't know. I was feeling okay. So I kind of tried to run around that pace, and I wanted to check the wattage. So I ran an hour 303, 302, 301, 305, 306, 306 watts for those 6 times 5 minutes. So in the range of about, I didn't average it out, I should have. I think it was about 304 watts or 305 watts across those intervals. So I was feeling actually pretty good. I took Nomeo that day, so that was also a big help. That was on Sunday, 1 week before the race. I did another workout on the treadmill. I believe this was Tuesday before we left. I wanted to do 15 minutes, maybe stretch it out a little bit at marathon pace and just see how it felt. I wanted to do it on the road. Got tied up all day long and had to do it in the evening on the treadmill. So I went off that wattage that I had from the road from my 6 times 5 minutes and wanted to hit that kind of wattage on the treadmill. The treadmill pace is not exactly the same from what you're running on the road. It's definitely, depending on your treadmill, the calibration is one thing, but the actual running, the physiological motion of running on the treadmill is not the same as running on the road. But I found the wattage is pretty good estimation, at least as far as training. So I ran that 15 minutes and I did 302 watts. So slightly lower than my road. I feel like I could run faster at the same effort on the road versus on the treadmill. Comparatively or relatively speaking, whatever the right one is, I was in that range. So that was Tuesday. Flew over, I believe, on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, couple test runs. Sunday was Sunday was the race, and my average wattage with Stryd was 307 watts. So I did no marathon training aside from those other 2 runs. This is 2 weeks after Mammoth. I had no clue what wattage I wanted to target, but I averaged 305, 302, and then race day in great conditions, of course, and, pepped up adrenaline, 307 watts, just within a couple watt range of what I had done in my training runs. And that's road intervals, 15 minutes on the treadmill, and race days. I'm essentially within a range of 5 watts. Very incredible as a training tool, and that is just on the road. On the trails, that's where it really shines. The ups and downs, kind of averaging out instead of worrying about your pace, your heart rate, those things vary so much more than your wattage. So I'm a big fan of the Stryd pod. I would typically use it on every run. I'm looking forward to the Stryd pod 5.0. So full review, video review on that one coming up. I think I'm going to get that sometime in the middle of November. We'll see. Moving over with my kit. What else did I have? Hoka Glide 2-in-1 shorts. I was wearing Hoka shoes, so I figured I'd just wear the Hoka shorts. Standard 2-in-1 shorts. I don't like briefs. I knew I was going to wear a waist belt, so I wasn't worried about carrying capacity. It has a little thing back here, but a little zipper pocket. I use this for trash, but this is just pretty basic running short, and I like it because everything is super smooth. Even the drawstring here is super smooth. I don't even really have to tie it, but it's not thick. It fits well in there, and this is just a standard short. It's good. Moving down to the shirt, Fractel. I wore a sleeveless Fractel shirt. I had run this in training, and it just felt light. I knew it was going to be nice and cool on race day. I think it was low 50s, 40s at the start. So perfect kind of singlet weather, or in my case, sleeveless weather. I did wear arm sleeves, gloves at the beginning of the race. They also gave me got some other Fractel stuff here. Let's take a look at what they got. So I have more of a, I don't know what they call this, a racer back singlet here. And so I did go with the sleeveless. I typically don't like these. These feel a little narrow, and they feel like they just slide. I don't do too much road running anyway, but I just feel like they slide around too much, and it's maybe a little distracting. So maybe I'll do this maybe for a 5K turkey trot, something like that. A couple other Fractel shirts that I've been testing. You've seen these in my videos. This is great. This is loose fit. By the way, I have these all in medium. So I'm 5'10". You can see my build here. Drank a bunch of beer in Germany. I'm like 145 pounds right now. Anyway, medium fit, fits me nice and loose in a Fractel shirt. Very comfortable. Seen this in my summer videos. This is a looser kind of training tank top. You've seen this one in my videos, like this in the summertime. This is my favorite right here. This is the Velocity t-shirt. Has a bit of a, it has a slimmer fit than that one. It's not a slim fit for me in a size medium. This just fits just right, just with the right looseness. So this is my favorite Fractel shirt right now. Moving down to my feet, Sidus T-free socks. I have a trail version of this. I think this is, I guess, a regular or road version. It's a little bit thinner. Love Sidus socks. I love the grip band that they have. It's just, you know, running a marathon, I do the lace locking in the Rocket X3, so I thought the grip band is kind of helpful just to kind of reduce any movement, maybe prevent a little heel slippage, or just movement in the shoe in general. I just like it. It feels great, and it's unobtrusive, so there's no, you know, downside. T-free here, which is interesting. You've got your big toe separated from the rest of your toes, which I think is pretty cool. I'm not certain how much I gain out of this, but you know, you're putting most of your power at the end of your stride through your big toe. It just feels nice to have the big toe separated. It also, of course, eliminates any friction. A good reason why you wear toe socks is to eliminate blisters. But if maybe you have issues with your big toe and the next toe, but you don't necessarily want to separate all the rest of them, it's a pain in the butt to put them on, or even can fill up too much volume in your shoe, this keeps the rest of them together. And I feel like it feels good. I feel like the looseness of the big toe gives me a little bit more power there. So this is the Sidus T-free. I love it. I've been running in a lot of Sidus socks. Oh, let's get to the belt. I did wear the Instinct belt for the marathon race. I didn't carry any water bottles. I carried, let's see, 4 gels with me. I should have carried 5. Had to ration that last one a little bit more than I would have liked to. So I stashed, I think, 3 in the back pocket here, 2 up front here. I was thinking of carrying my little camera, but in the end I didn't. This is just a nice belt. It's just fits super snug, and when not super loaded, it doesn't bounce at all. So I think it's a great racing marathon belt. I didn't use these for the number. I just pinned it on my shirt. But if you had to carry more fluids, and if you did want to carry a bottle, you could put it in there. During the race, I took the cups from the course. I had my LF2L Raide belt with me, but this is a little bit too bulky for marathon running. I feel like this is a more secure belt. If you want to especially load up a couple, 2, maybe 3 water bottles in here, I've tested this. It feels more solid, I think, this belt. It has those internal straps in there. But I did use this during my trip when I would go on shorter runs just to have the bottle in the back. This was nice. In for test. This is the new one from Raide. This is the UL1 liter. So similar kind of design. This is the back here. You got the snap, you got the zipper pocket, you got this thing for pulls. Very similar to the 2L. I have not run in this belt yet. I got back, I emailed them. This belt, I have both of them in a size extra small. This one feels way tighter. There's a different tensioning system. You don't have that strap system. You've got these little cords in here, and they are super secure. The one thing I'm worried about, sometimes these cords, especially on vests, can get loose with the springs. This one seems like super solid, so I'm not worried about that one. This one has those straps, but anyway, I couldn't get it up over my hips onto my waist. I have a little bit, maybe a little more here than over here. This is definitely a lot narrower for me, so I was getting stuck here, and I was worried about like tearing it up So I emailed him. I'm like, I don't know, I may need another size. They're both the same size, but this one gets on way easier. He said, no, don't worry. If you hear a little pop or something from some seams, he said it's part of the breaking in process. Don't worry about it. Try to get it on, see how it fits. And I did. I tried it on. I'm not going to do it now because it's definitely tighter at this point. I think I got this as a sample that had been pre-tested, so he said it might have been stretched out a little bit more. So I got this one on. Once up on my waist, it's great. It's a little bit thinner than this Instinct one. I think if I would have had this, I probably would have worn this one for the race, just because it is a little bit thinner, and I feel like with just carrying 4 or 5 gels, it would have been great for the race. And it fits perfectly up here. It's just a little tricky. I mean, maybe at least for now, I'm gonna put this on before I leave the house. Normally, I would kind of put it on in the parking lot when I go for a run. This one I'm gonna put on before I leave the house, just because it's a tight shimmy. I'm gonna test this again. I haven't run in it, so you'll see my full review on this one shortly. Comparison to the 2L, we'll see. I've got another belt here from Kiprun. It's the 900 trail run belt here. This one's a little similar to the 1 liter one in that you do have this elastic kind of cinch over there. This is actually the front, so you got a zipper pocket in the front here. It's waterproof, so that's where you would put your phone or something you would want to at least keep mostly dry. It does have some Velcro here, which I don't particularly like, this scratching up clothing or whatever is going to go in there. Socks, hats, whatever. You have some gel pockets here. The back is separate. It's actually not super secure here. You've got little pads here, so you can store your trail running poles across here. But it's not enough for a bottle. I mean, I was thinking about this as I tested it on a couple of runs. You could kind of fit a small bottle in the front here, but this is just not very tight. It's just not well suited to carrying a bottle with the bounce. Both or all 3 of these belts here, if you want to put a bottle in your belt, they're going to be much better than this one. I did go on a rafting trip though, and I wore this because I had the life vest and all that, and I wanted to have this zipper pocket up front because I had a little camera with me and a couple other snacks, and it was actually great for that. So I wore this in a raft, and it was great. So maybe some of those easier, lightweight around town runs, maybe you have a hand bottle, or maybe you're just not really, it's a shorter run, you're not carrying bottles, and you just want to have a few items around here. You got to carry a wallet, a phone, or something. You're going on a little errand or something. This could be a good option. Kiprun. I've got their 15-liter vest here. Just got to work through some testing time. You saw this in my muscular endurance stair running video. I've still got the water in here. I've got the 2-liter bladder back here. This is a high capacity 15-liter vest. I had the bottles up front. I had the 2 liters here. I'm going to do more of those stair workouts going forward, and I'm actually going to put more weight in this. So I have to get this one for testing. You'll see this in the near future. Now we've got Apparel from Rabbit. This is the Layer 1 trail shirt. This is a size medium. Again, I am 5 foot 10 inches, whatever that is in centimeters. Thin runner's frame. They sent me 2. I have a small and a medium. I like the fit of this medium. I do have long arms, so sometimes I have to get shirts a little bit looser to kind of get the right arm length. I have the small here. I have a t-shirt under here. Maybe the small would be working better for a tighter fit as a base layer, and I wouldn't have to worry about the arm length so much. But it is super comfortable. It has one of these grid type fleece things. I've got my Peak Performance. This went with me to Germany. I talked about in my Maria Eck run the Peak Performance Free Light Wind Jacket. This is their kind of crew neck shirt here. Very nice. This has the same kind of grid. This is actually Polar Tech. They don't mention this being Polar Tech, but it has a similar kind of design to it. It just feels really nice. It feels more airy than the warmth that it provides, both of these. This is a staple. I wore this on the plane coming home. Very comfortable. I actually love this. Been running in it a little bit, a couple times more as the weather has cooled off here. This one does have a little zipper pocket here, which is nice for a card and some cash. I'll be running in this one shortly. Oh, this is the Rabbit runner's pants here. I've got this one in a size small. I feel like Rabbit's apparel in general, they're made for bigger torsos. I don't know. There's a lot more variation. So in the small, I find like the waist is roomy and nice, but then the length is a little bit short. If I wear them, I have their shorts in for test, the high country shorts, and again, they feel more spacious around here than typical smalls are. So if I went to medium, they'd be a lot more roomy. I feel like if a medium in this would be too big. But down here, the length is pretty good for a runner short. This is a little bit short, I think, for me. That's where I'm saying the sizing may be more suited for kind of wider torsos, wider waists, relatively speaking, rather than a thinner kind of slim fit. But for running, the high thing right at the ankle or above it is great because you don't have that swishing around at the bottom there. So I'll be doing more test running in this combo here. I also have their Momentum jacket here. Again, this stuff was waiting for me when I got back from my trip, so I haven't had the chance to test it. Again, this is a medium here, and it has good fit with the arms here. Similar to that layer 1 shirt that I have, it's a little bit roomier over here for a medium, but the arm length works for me. So this is how I typically wear my running stuff anyway. This has 2 zip pockets here. It's packable into its chest pocket. Wind and water resistant. This is a little bungee, so you could wrap it up once you flip it in there. But again, nice and loose and comfortable for a running jacket. I think it's kind of cool for a warm-up jacket. I think for me, I don't think I would wear it like racing just due to the looseness of it, but for casual use and regular running, I think it's a nice looking and solid jacket. We'll see. I'll take it out on the run. It's getting colder. One more item here in for test. I've got the GOREWEAR Concurve GTX jacket here. I actually do not have a full Gore-Tex jacket, and this is my first one. Really cool jacket here. I wore this. We did a hike up to the Kampenwand in Germany. Pretty cool hike slash. You could run over there, but I was with a bunch of family. Super fun day out, and I wore this because it was very cold in the morning over there, and super comfortable. I took it off as we kind of made our way up, and the temperatures warmed up. More to come. I thought I was gonna get. We always have rain in Germany, and this trip we really didn't, but I like the double zip here, so you could vent it and keep it on you as much as you like. Love the double zip, especially in the Gore-Tex jacket. Sometimes you want to get some air in there in a waterproof shell. I like the zipper pockets too. Okay, we're not dealing with a ultra lightweight jacket here, but when I was hiking there, I stashed my gloves in here as I was going, taking them on and off. Just a very comfortable. This is a medium for Gore. So this fits me perfectly. You can see this fits a little more trim. It has actually, they call it a slim fit. The arm length is good in a medium, and it's a little trimmer around my body than that Momentum jacket from Rabbit. So this would definitely be like a race day, more kind of technical option for me, at least in my fit. So we'll see when we get some more rain, do some more testing in this one here. But on that hike, it felt great, and just the fit of it feels really great, really loose, really adaptable to, I think it has some type of anatomical design, so it does feel good and loose on the run. Let's see. I did want to mention I had my Fractel beanie on in the beginning. Sun's hitting me now. I don't need this. Actually haven't been running in this one. This is awesome. My wife stole it from me, so she has been wearing it, but it's super loose and comfortable. This is a very nice knit beanie. Again, might not get that one back. Last thing here, came home to a little feed thing here. Let's see what I got. Maurten gels. Maurten gel 160. This is new. 160 calories, 40 grams of carbs in these. So the Maurten standard gels are a little bit smaller than this, a little less carbs. I have been using SIS beta gels, 40 grams in the same kind of shape and size. So different option from Maurten. Finding 40 grams is a lot easier to hit the number. Once you start adding 30 plus 30 plus 30, it takes, like 3 gels plus whatever you're drinking. When you're at 40, you get 40 plus 40, you're at 80 plus whatever drink you're taking in. It's just much easier to get to, say, 90 or 100 without having to be just like taking gels every like all the time. Just it seems like it can seem excessive at times. So Maurten Gel 160, these are at TheFeed.com. I'll be taking these maybe on my next workout run. Let you know, keep you posted. So I hope you enjoyed this little roundup for my trip, gear review and stuff. I might talk about my marathon stuff a little bit more in depth in a future video. We'll see. I think I covered a lot of it here between the Stryd pod and the gear and all that. Maybe training and racing going forward if I start actually getting into some more workouts as the upcoming season kicks into gear. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more. I've got some other stuff coming in for test that is not in front of me right now. I've got some other stuff on the way for test that's not here right now. TRE, the running event, is coming up in San Antonio, Texas in just over a month right now. So stay tuned to Humble Running. Follow along, subscribe. Check me out on Instagram for sure. Go to the website, www.humblerunning.com. Check out my latest newsletter. I've got more kind of tidbits from my trip to Germany. Links to all of the content that I was talking about within this video are there too. And as we get into TRE, the end of the year, more stuff testing, have more newsletters, try to do some more articles over there. So sign up on there for my email list so you don't miss anything. Q&A, didn't have it in this one, but if you have any of those questions, put them down in the comments below and I'll get to another Q&A shortly. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.